Now joining me on the All Ball podcast is one of the coolest people I know. In the world of sports, you've got the obvious roles like players, trainers, front office personnel. But you also have tastemakers and creatives who blend the world of sports with the culture. My guest today has seen and been to it all, from NBA All-Star games to Rogers Cup in tennis to sneaker releases around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I present Anna, or as most almost 50,000 people across socials know her as A to the bed. What up, Anna?
Hello, happy to be here. It's so dirty.
What's good? So how you doing?
Wow, what an intro. I'm doing good. I had a really good day today.
Good,
Just
good,
been out and about.
So I want the people to kind of know you a little bit. Like when I first met you, Anna, you probably don't even remember this, but I do. And people might think we met in a way cooler way, but looking back at it now, it wasn't that cool. So Anna was my now wife's roommate for a short while, and Melody had just moved into her new apartment, and she was having a few friends over. One of them being Anna. We're all sitting around, and you see across the entire living room is a 10-foot charger. Anna, with her two phones working like Kevin Gates. It gave me my first glimpse of that influencer life, a person that's always working. And my thought at the time, Anna, was like, you're either a drug dealer or you just love talking to people that you weren't around. And now, after seeing you work tirelessly to build your brand, my first question to you is, do you still have two phones?
Yes.
And what are you doing now on the two phones?
I actually don't carry both anymore, but I think one just had a better camera and like
That's
a better interface. So like my Google phone is just amazing, and then my iPhone is just how I talk to everyone. So it's definitely a blend of working, but also talking to people nonstop. I'm sure you're aware, Melody and I talk almost all day.
all day, all day. Okay, so in all seriousness, like, could you have predicted that your career would be what it is now while you were in school?
No, no, not at all. Like back, that was over 10 years ago. And even looking back to high school, I mean, I had some glimpses. I had a feeling that I wanted to work in media, specifically in sneakers, but that didn't really exist at the time.
Right.
And my benchmark was basically like a slam. I loved Slam magazine,
Yeah.
Slam kicks, mostly kicks, because I'm into basketball, but I could never like comment on it, that like insightfully. Um, but yeah, and then I just never thought, like, we didn't even have Instagram yet.
Mhm.
So I just never thought that I would grow to be somebody who people followed on the internet for God knows what.
It's so cool seeing, like, just knowing you and seeing like your internet persona, and like just off the court or off social, is like you're really like one of the most humble people I know, and honestly it's really cool. But for the people that first meet you, or even your parents, for a better for that matter, how do you explain what you do?
I laugh. The first thing I do is I always laugh. I think the easiest way to encapsulate it is that I'm a creative consultant, and really that could mean anything, but I like to specialize in basically anything that's in creative. And I like to stay within like the sneaker, fashion, and sports world, and I like to marry the three into one, into everything I do. So I've been dabbling in styling a little. It's not really my forte, but I tried that out for a bit. I really like art direction, and from time to time I write. And then right now I'm kind of using COVID, as an opportunity to figure out where I want to take myself. And I think we'll talk about that a little more later.
Of course. And like many things, especially sports, people will always see the highlights. They want the life, but they never see the hard work or the sacrifice. But it's similar for you, where people see the nice kicks, the clothes, the experiences, and they'll want all that. But what don't people see from you?
Well, first and foremost, my sneaker collection, and I would hardly call myself a collector. I just accumulate them, and there are people with far better collections than me. But This has spanned over more than 15 years. I haven't grown. And these are just shoes that I've been able to hold on to from my high school days all the way up to now. And, people see me going to media events, traveling, getting sneakers early sometimes. And that's amazing. But I think there's a common misconception that it's literally just about posting pictures of yourself and um, having the newest sneakers all the time. And I don't try to have the newest sneakers all the time. It's impossible to keep up, and that's just not the game that I want to play. Um, my background is in media. My first entry into this space and this community was as a writer. I was writing about sneakers, and I started working with brands more and more, and that's how it really is. And it's not all just a popularity contest on Instagram. Mind you, that does help, but there are people with like hundreds of thousands of followers that still don't get to do, still don't get to dabble in these opportunities.
Right. And like I was saying, but like, people don't see that you've been grinding for so long. They'll think, oh, it just happened. Oh, somehow you have almost 40,000 followers on IG. Like, people don't see like how you did that. And what would you say to those people that are thinking it's an overnight kind of thing?
I mean, sometimes it is, but really I made a conscious decision, and I think this was the most important thing. I made a conscious decision as to what my content would be like going forward, and what I would and wouldn't share, and what kinds of campaigns that I would and wouldn't participate in. I was very selective from the start about like who I partnered with, and it was a slow game, and some people can move way faster than I did, but I took it slow. I followed my heart. It's kind of corny, but that's really the only way there is to go.
No, absolutely. And we were talking about cakes before, and so I want to ask you, like, what's the one shoe that you got and you thought was going to change your life? So for me, I remember like it was yesterday, grade 7. I'm on the junior boys basketball team, and obviously Vince Carter is balling. He comes out with the Shocks. I get the Shocks. I convinced my dad for almost like 2 months because they're really expensive to purchase the Shocks for. It was probably my birthday. And so I get the Shocks, and I'm thinking, I lace them up the night before. I slept in them, right? And I'm thinking, I'm going to go to school next day. I'm going to show everyone I can dunk. And I wasn't even touching rim at the time. So I get the Shocks. I'm like, can't wait, till basketball practice. I got them in my backpack all day long, get to the court after school, lace them up. I got everybody looking at me. I'm like, yo, watch what I'm about to do, right? I have the basketball dribble. Man, I I tried to dunk, and I don't even think I dunked the mesh, right? And everybody was laughing. It was a funny moment, and I'm like looking at the shoes, like, what just happened? Like, I'm supposed to be able to dunk. So what was a shoe that you have gotten in your life that you thought was going to change your life?
It was the Boeing commercials that got
Yes, it got me bamboozled.
I feel like my Shocks had a similar effect because we're the same age, I think, right? And at that time, like, to be in grade 7, grade 8, and get a $300 shoe, that's crazy.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, so I had to do a similar thing, and to convince my parents, and I had to promise my dad, like, Dad, I'll play so good at our tournament. I'll play like amazing, and like, I'm a kid size 5, by the way, and at the time, I like convinced them and myself that I could wear a size 7 men's because I wanted the red colorway, and like not the black.
Right.
So the jump from kids to men's is huge, by the way, and then also price point wise, which I'm sure like that's where you fell into it by then. And I still have them. They're sitting in my closet back here. They're kind of beat up, but yeah, I think that might have been like the one, because I was like, that's when you're so young and like you just believe in yourself so much. You believe in yourself. You believe in what you're seeing. Like, Vince Carter was our entire world.
Yes.
So that was probably mine. Not to copy you, but
Yeah. Well,
That definitely sparked a memory.
I think a lot of people went through that because I'll tell that story to some people that I meet now, especially now that he retired, and they'd be like, "Yo, I got those same shoes. I thought I was about to fly." So it's funny, but no, we're talking about Vince Carter, right? And he obviously just recently retired, and we're both from Mississauga, and we're obviously watching all the games, all the highlights, all the impact that he had on an entire generation. Like you can see now, like a lot of guys are in NBA because they had the vision from him. What did Vince Carter mean to you?
Vince Carter was one of my entry points into basketball. And it just, being from Mississauga, being attaching ourselves to Toronto,
Yeah,
it was so important to us. And like, I used to have a scrapbook where I would cut out every Vince Carter picture and article and glue it into my scrapbook and just look at it
yeah,
after school.
yeah,
Um, I never thought I could be like Vince Carter because he was a dunker, right? Like it's just that's never been part of my trajectory. I'm 5'3".
right.
um, but he like I realized this a couple weeks ago. I've had those shoes for more than half my life.
Oh yes, yes, you're right. Yeah,
Yeah,
wow.
and it just like it represents my entire childhood and growing up, starting to like basketball. I didn't start playing basketball until like the fourth or fifth grade. So by then, that's only like what 2-3 years into it.
Yeah.
So Vince Carter represents a lot of my childhood basketball days.
Yeah, no, honestly, everybody, like you said, we're around the same age, and everybody around our generation, and even after, just honestly looked up to Vince Carter, and it's crazy the impact he had around the world, even with his sneakers. And one thing I want to ask you is like, how much has the sneaker game changed since then? Because when we were growing up, you got sneakers, that identify with the players. Like if you liked Iverson or you like Kobe, you like Jordan, like you're not crossing over. Like if I'm an Iverson fan, I'm not getting Kobe sneakers, and if I'm a Kobe fan, I'm not getting Iverson sneakers, right? So, but nowadays it's so different where I feel like it's far removed from the sport itself. It's almost like a fashion thing. What does the future of sneakers look like for you?
I think the future of sneakers is a lot more fashion focused now.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that it wasn't back then, because Allen Iverson definitely was a trailblazer in NBA fashion and popular culture, fashion, pop culture, and mainstream. And we're taking cues now from 2003, like the 1990 late 90s to the early 2000s, and reincorporating them into our wardrobes. And we're seeing the younger NBA players referencing them, and they probably weren't even alive yet. Some of
Yeah.
them weren't alive yet. And I think it's really interesting to see how it's kind of repeating itself, because I don't think that like the Michael Jordans, Allen Iversons were copying. Well, I don't know. I don't think they were copying like the Wilt Chamberlains.
Right. The Converse
And
All
like,
Stars.
yeah, to an extent, but like not really. I think it's just a lot more fashion focused. And I think there's less emphasis on like player signature shoes. A lot of them have it, but it's not as competitive as it was. Like you said, you're either wearing Iversons or Kobe's or Jordans. Like you're not really crossing over. I've never had Iversons until last summer.
Right. That's wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, shifting gears a little bit in the industry, talking about male gaze a little bit. Do you find that even though you're you're a female in the sneaker game, your audience is still generally men, and you're marketed to men? Like for example, you'll see, just for a little example, a woman in bikinis and sneakers, but as a woman, is that what you're looking for? Is that done for male gaze in your opinion?
The women in bikinis just never related to me, and I mean, great for them. That's like they look amazing. That's what they do.
Yeah.
It wasn't not my style, and I never really found, especially when I started, I didn't find a lot of women that I could really resonate with. So I think the male gaze is still heavily existent in sneaker culture today, like for women, but not, and maybe I'm just being really optimistic, just
Mm-hmm.
not as much as it was before. Just because a lot of us have moved towards like a more like unisex aesthetic in our style. And again, maybe that's me, but like think about the women that we amplify in the sneaker community. Aleli May, Vashti,
Mm-hmm.
Melody Asani, all of them are not over sexualized.
Yeah.
They remain feminine, but they're also wearing, like men's clothes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there is a little element of the male gaze, but it's definitely a lot different from even 5 years ago.
No, that's no, you're definitely right about that. And um, it's cool to see that they're being amplified more than the verse side. Um, there was I was on Twitter the other day, and there was a whole discussion on Twitter sparked by a lady who said she'd never date a man that had a 9 to 5. How I don't know if you saw that, but how did you feel about that? You've done both. We both done both. What are your thoughts on that?
I thought that was so ridiculous and just condescending and rude. Like, somewhere along the way, the internet convinced itself that it was not cool to have a job. So, like, we see me going to Paris with
Yeah,
Jordan Brand and like having fun out there, and
yeah,
we see you like killing it in the CFL, but no one sees how many hours a day you're putting in at practice, and no one sees like the articles that I write and get rejected, or the projects I pitch and get rejected, and
right,
how that hurts my feelings sometimes.
right,
It's just so strange to me. Like, there's really nothing wrong in having a job. I think it's actually very cool to have a job, like feeding your family, taking care of yourself. You do what you have to do. And I was saying about that, she wants an entrepreneur. Once you scale your entrepreneurial project, eventually it turns into a 9 to 5. And then guess
100%.
what? You hire employees to work 9 to 5. So you're basically like shitting on your future or people who may be your future employees.
Right.
People are applying to your company and thinking, oh well, this person like thinks it's super whack to have a 9 to 5. What?
Yeah, it's so bad. It was so backwards to me to see that, and it was a huge debate, and to see the comments on that, people on both sides, it was like, man, it's really interesting, and that's sometimes what's what the internet is good for, the comment section.
Yeah, like I hate to I guess like tear other women down. I just thought that was really not like a productive conversation.
Right, right, and I actually want to know what was her goal for that, but I guess she was just stating her opinion, and
I think
as,
she's stating her dating preference. Like, she
yeah,
wants an entrepreneur, but she doesn't even care what he does. Like,
right,
an entrepreneur, she's like, he could be a drug dealer or
right.
like a struggling rapper. Okay, well, if he's a struggling rapper, how do you think he's
Yeah,
paying for, like, how is he going to pay for his studio time, or how's he going to pay his rent
right,
without, if he hasn't made music yet? It's
right.
ridiculous.
He's still an entrepreneur though, so that's enough for her. That's
Yeah.
um yeah, shifting gears just another a little bit more. Since COVID hit and you're seeing the civil uprising, material stuff just doesn't mean the same thing as it used to before. It's been cool to see influencers pivot and begin to amplify the news and information. How important do you feel that is with someone with the size of your platform? Because I've been seeing you on social media, doing your research and putting a voice to the cause. So how important do you think it is for people like you to continue to do that?
I think it's the most important thing. What is the point of your platform if you're not going to use it for anything else? And um, I said that it was so silly to me to see people that I knew, like influencers, not necessarily like, people who don't really have followings. I said it was silly to me. Oh, sorry, time out. it's getting kind of dark because relying on the daylight.
That's all
Is
good.
that ruining it?
No, 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 you're good.
I might turn on some like lights.
Nice.
Well, I'll turn on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just thought it was a little bit disappointing to see people who are kind of in the same community as me. Like we're in the sneaker community, the sports community, community powered by Black people, and you know you're the first to repost Off-White, Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Allen Iverson, whatever, but not using your platform to amplify the voices of the people you so supposedly support. And I don't pretend that I know everything, and I don't pretend that I've been like super woke this whole time, but
Right.
you know, there's an advantage to the like the people the friendships that I have, right? I learn a lot from Melody,
Yeah.
like tons.
Me too.
And yeah, and we like I can't stress enough the importance of surrounding yourself with people who look different than you, because then you get more perspectives. And one thing that woke me up was that I realized I don't know a lot of white people. So I was like, dang, I didn't know like not everyone. I didn't know people were this stupid or like this clueless. Sorry, that's kind of a tangent, but yeah, so that was why I kind of alluded earlier in our conversation that I had tried to go ghost early May, and then this happened at the end of May, and actually not really, but I'm not usually vocal on the internet. I'm kind of just like here for the joke sometimes, and I was like, all right, well, I've been questioning my existence on the internet for a long time now, and I've been wanting to pivot out of being just like a driver to materialism, and I don't want people and like young girls who look up to me to think that like this is what you should aspire to have, the latest shoes, the newest designer stuff, because that's not a healthy way to look at life. So I think it is important to just share information. I learn more and more now that I didn't love reposting things because I was like, I have a writing background, so I'd rather like write something or whatever. But there are people who are creating resources that are much more well informed than I am, who are doing a better job than I am. So it is easier for me to share that. And I notice the difference it makes to even share something, because people will be like, wow, like even myself, I'll look at things that people repost and I'm like, oh, I didn't know this.
Right.
Or yeah.
No, that's no, you brought up the point of, you know, young girls looking up to you, and, you know, having young girls myself, it's we try to, you know, I for sure I'm looking towards like other, you know, powerful female females who are doing, you know, great things, and obviously you're one of them. Melody's obviously one of them. The Williams sisters, you know, the list goes on. But it's we're paying very close attention to a lot of things that they're doing right now, and it's important to have, you know, women like you take that step and understand that your voice does matter, and people are watching your, you know, your every move. So no, but with that being said, like pivoting just a little bit, you know, you played basketball, you know, you have basketball background. What were some of the things basketball taught you, specifically the injuries that basketball taught you, that you still carry with you today?
Sorry if that's distracting.
No,
I'm
not
a
at all.
little light. What my injuries have taught me. So I learned early on that I am a little bit of a quitter. I'm very easily discouraged, and I let fear kind of take over a lot, and not just like in sports, but like in life. And I think it's showing a lot more lately, which is so crazy because I didn't think I was like that afraid before. And I think it's kind of to your point of like being a perfectionist and making sure like what you do doesn't look stupid. But injuries have taught me that, you know, I don't even know. I'm like always injured. I'm going through an injury right now. I think the biggest thing, and this is not really related to like career, and it might not even be that motivational, but injuries have taught me that if you don't take care of your body, it will break down on you. And simple things like mobility exercises and like taking physio seriously when you get injured. And like the very first time I had a big injury was a torn ACL, and
Wow.
I took that super seriously, and it created a ripple effect into the rest of my life, and it created like routine, discipline. I think it more than anything, injuries um, showcase your discipline, and obviously you can't control when you get injured, but you
Right.
can definitely work hard to prevent them as much as possible. Um, I've been reading Ray Allen's book
Ah,
lately,
yeah.
because he did a Instagram live interview in May, and he was talking about his book. I didn't even know he wrote one. Small window of time, especially I guess like especially as an athlete, he knows that at a certain age he might not be able to, like, he's not going to be able to play basketball at the same level anymore. So protecting himself, whether that's through working out, eating properly, sleeping properly, you can't escape that. And I think injuries usually are a way of like waking you up.
100%. Like honestly, I've gone through my fair share of injuries, not so much lately, but the injuries I went through early in my career really kind of shaped me because, and it's helped me stay healthy now because my first major injury, like I was like broke my ankle my last year of college. I was devastated. I was like so depressed. I almost didn't even go to class half the time, and but then I took it as a moment to like really understand like why it happened. So just taking preventative measures, like you said, like how to prevent stuff, and it's really kind of I've never had an ankle injury since, right? So that you can always use moments like that to kind of propel you forward and kind of it sucks in the moment, but it helps you prevent further things that happen, right? So it's almost like a blessing in disguise, honestly, if you think about it.
Yeah, and it just reminds us that we're not invincible.
Yes. Honestly.
Yeah. And it's so funny because I'm the complete opposite right now because I have two sprained ankles because I'm.
Two?
Don't get me started. Yeah.
Wait, did you get crossed? Like, how did that happen?
Oh my God. So a lot of it really just boils down to my hips. And I think like hip mobility is a really big factor in like leg injuries. Yeah. So I sprained my ankle while I was running, and I was running a lot in May. I ran like 200 kilometers, which is a lot for me.
Yeah.
And then like I was like running 15 kilometers a day, like 4 days in a row. And then I was almost finished. And then I don't know what happened. I don't know if I just like momentarily lost focus and I completely like wiped out down on Lakeshore. It was like 10:30 at night. And
wow. Running.
Yeah. And the thing, like running is so like, you're just running in a straight line.
Right.
There's no lateral movements. There's nothing really for that to happen. And yeah, it was an awakening because I don't like stretch properly and I don't take care of myself enough, and I ignore my physio, and I've been doing physio for how long now?
Nah, it always catches up. It always catches up some way.
Yeah.
No, so on a more lighter note, so I got a question for you, a either or question. So if you could only play pro basketball, right? You can make it pro, but you can only wear like the dustiest shoes that you own all the time, or have every sneaker in the world that you could choose. What would you do? So you can make it pro, but you only have to wear the dustiest shoes in the world that you own, or have every sneaker in the world and not make it pro.
How dusty are we talking?
Like super dusty. Like you probably wouldn't wear them right now.
I don't even want every sneaker in the world. That's the thing. So
No,
I
but you
guess
can have the option to have every sneaker in the world. You don't have to actually have them. You have, if you look like I want those, boom, you got them.
all right, all right. Then I choose the second one because ball is not really my life. It just I
Okay.
like ball. I like basketball. I
Yeah.
love it. But I care too much about how I present myself,
Mm-hmm.
and like I don't care about having every sneaker, but I care about not looking silly.
I got you. I got
Or
you.
like,
Nah.
because I wouldn't feel confident in myself.
Yeah, yeah. You know, that's honestly for me. It's the same thing where you look good, you play good, and there've been times when you're wearing you're younger and you have a dusty number on, and like maybe like you got like number 80. I don't know what's a bad number, 86, or a number that doesn't look good, right? Good looking numbers are 1, 2, 3 in the single digits, but you got 86 on it. You don't feel good. You know what I mean? So. I know how you mean. You don't even want to go to practice sometimes. But Anna, we're near the end, and it's game time. All right, you ready? Okay, so we're gonna play a game called Still in the League. Okay, I'm gonna give you a list of 5 names, and you're gonna tell me whether they're in the league or not. NBA, of course. Okay, you ready?
Am I gonna embarrass myself? Okay.
I know hey, you're supposed to be a big ball fan, so
I
might be a
know
little embarrassing.
it will be because yeah.
You
I would
ready?
pretend. Okay, let's go.
All right. For the first name, Pau Gasol. Is he in the league or not?
Yes, he is.
You are wrong. He is not in the league right now.
Was
Second
it
name, Matthew Dellavedova. Dellavedova.
Delhi? No.
Deli. No, you are wrong. He is in the league right now.
Where?
He is on I think he's on Charlotte. I believe he's on Charlotte, but no, he's actually back in Cleveland. They signed him again.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you're 0 for 2.
Wow, I'm trash.
Okay, all right, let's go. So the third one, DeMarcus Cousins.
Yes, he is.
You're wrong.
This feels like a
again.
trick question.
He
What?
is not in the league right now. He was on the Lakers, but he was released,
Waived?
obviously. Yeah, he was waived because of his knee injury, and then he wasn't coming back this season to make roster room. So you were 0 for 3. You got 2 more. Let's go.
Wow.
Let's go. Gerald Green.
Yes.
You are wrong again. I can't believe. Okay, honestly, it is hard.
I don't have confidence right now.
Yeah, no, because you're thinking, oh, he's only asking me because he's not. You're trying to play reverse psychology, and you're just messing yourself up. All right, so you're over 4. One last name, okay? One last name. Is he in the league? Marco Bellinelli.
Yes.
Yes, ding, ding, ding. You got it. He is in the league. 1 for 4. Anna, what do you have to say for yourself?
That's embarrassing.
These aren't the easiest names, honestly.
I don't have cable anymore, so I don't know.
Real, but you have social media though.
Yeah, that's fair. Who talks about that? I just remember I was trying to remember the last time I got mad at Bellinelli, and
you played for the Raptors at one point too, though.
Yeah, I hated him.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that you never know if he's actually in the league or he's not in the league because he's played so long, and then so it's funny. But yeah, that was honestly, I didn't think you were gonna do great because making that list, I was like, man, I don't know. So you did better than that. You did better than Melody.
I thought we. No way.
She got zeros.
I feel like Melody is like on top of.
No.
She is.
No, she's not. She's not. She doesn't have cable either.
Oh my goodness, that's embarrassing. I thought we saw Pau Gasol play against Mark last year. I thought there was like a nice brother.
Yeah,
moment.
no, he's been hurt all year. He was on the Bucks for a while, but the same thing as DeMarcus Cousins, where they waived him because he's injured and he's going to be hurt for the whole year. But those are tough ones. They're not supposed to be easy. If it was easy, everyone could do it. But
Wow.
Anna, thank you so much for joining me here on the All Ball podcast. Honestly, I always say you're one of the coolest people I know, but you don't think
Oh
you're
my
cool. So
gosh. No, I
that's
don't think
what
I'm
makes
cool
you
at
special.
all.
That's what makes you special. You're not thinking you're cool. But thank you so much. Huge honor for me to have you on the show. You got, where can people find some of your work before we get out of here?
Um, you can find me on social media right now at A to the Bed on Twitter and Instagram. I'm working on my website.
Yeah.
I've been saying that for a long time.
Yeah.
But,
And you got
if you
some
wanna-
major news coming out. I won't tell people what it is, but look out on her socials. She's got big announcement coming up. Can I even say that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Fingers
If it comes
crossed.
out, it comes out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But you didn't hear it from me.
But Tay knows the secret.
Yes, I do. Anna, thank you so much. This was wonderful. We might have you as a recurring guest if it's okay with you.
Yeah, man. Anytime. I can't believe you remember the charger. I forgot about that.
Oh
That's
my God,
thing.
that was the longest charger I've ever seen till this day.
What a first impression.
Yeah, I know, but I was like, or is she dealing drugs, or is she like the coolest person on earth? Like, what's going on here? You end up being the second part.
That was a really funny night.
Yeah, it was the popcorn.
We went to the movies, bought popcorn, didn't watch a movie, sat in a food court.
All right, lots of funny stuff happened. But Anna, thank you so much. Well, I'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks.
All right,
Kay.
stay
Bye.
safe.